I think it's such a great thing to be a part of a community that cares about light, that cares about spreading the light into the world.
Welcome to the Inspirational Art Association podcast, a place where artists from around the world share what inspires them with Cindy Lattimore, an art curator and promoter who brings with her 13 years of experience. Settle in, get comfortable, and enjoy the behind-the-scenes exchange with not only world-class artists, but up-and-coming talent as well.
Welcome to this episode of Inspirational Art Association's podcast. And with us today, we have Joseph Brickey. Welcome, Joseph.
Hey, thank you, Cindy. Good to be here.
Well, thank you. You are a very, very busy man, as I know through the years of working with you, that if I get you in front of me for 5 minutes, I take advantage of it because you got so many irons in the fire. Is that what it's called? But let me introduce those that do not know Joseph, which will be very few. He is an award-winning artist in drawing, painting, and sculptures. He's the director of Beau Arts Academy. And you probably have seen a lot of his works in the temples around the world, but just a few. Journey to Bethlehem, I've seen that in a few temples. Temple Mural, Rome Visitor Center. Now, I've seen that one up close and personal when you've been up on the scaffolding. Mary, your sister, and I would, she invited me in when you were just finishing it before you sent it off to Rome. And then, in fact, it's across in the visitor center across from the stained glass that Mark and I were able to help on with that. And the most current one that a lot of people see, it's not probably one of your most current works, but Christ and Mary at the tomb. President Nelson used that as his backdrop when he announced when they did their very first press conference. And a lot of people know that they've seen our mugshots right with President Nelson. We've had the opportunity of meeting one-on-one with him. So through the years, you and I have had some really neat experiences. But how did I first meet Joseph Brickey? I've had that question asked quite a bit. Do you remember, Joseph? Do you remember how I first met you?
Boy, it feels like I've always known you, Cindy. So
I'm a hard person to forget. No, it's so funny. So when I first was into the art business, into the art world, I was told you need to get Joseph Brickey into your art shows. Oh yeah, I will. Well, when I would contact you, you would say, okay, well, if I have something, I mean, usually they're commissioned or I don't have anything to bring. One year you said, I think you got notified me like a week or so in advance and said, okay, I have something. So I remember it, but down when we were in the Bonneville room, which is just off the lobby of the Joseph Smith Memorial Building, you notified me that you're running late because I think I had everybody to be done at 3. So we had a couple of hours before the private arts reception. So when 3 o'clock hit, I closed it all up, locked it all up, and went across the way to the Nauvoo Center. Is it starting to, the Nauvoo?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I'm sitting there getting a bite to eat, and Scott Sumner, how he got into that room, I don't know, but he has special skills. But he calls me up and goes, hey, Cindy, I'm Joseph here. I go, oh, great. Well, there's this one panel, because he just says he's bringing one piece of artwork. Okay. And he goes, it's not going to fit. Well, it's too big. I go, okay, well, around this corner, I have 2 panels together. Put him on that. No, Cindy, it's not going to fit. And I go, oh, really? How hard is it for 2 men to hang one piece of artwork? He goes, no, you need to come over. So as I'm walking across the lobby, I happen to look out the revolving doors and there's a semi. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Not connecting the dots yet. Go in. As I approach the front doors and open, how big was that one piece? In fact, I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Yeah, I believe it was
Children of the Light.
Children of the Light. And I think it was about 90 inches, with the frame about 90 inches square.
And it was on wheels.
Yeah.
and it needed a semi to bring it in.
Yeah.
Yes. And then it went to Deseret Book and sold. But yeah, that's how we first met. You cease to amaze me. We have a favorite saying between, okay, so fast forward a couple of years, and that's when I started having the dinner, and I was so happy. I kept this a secret, but I presented you with an award that your family knew, but you did not know. And I remember that morning, one of my kids that came down to help, says, "So how are you going to introduce Joseph?" I go, "Oh," because at that time I'd been heavily I was watching, is it Fruitopia? The one with the sloth, and how cute and just so close. But at the end they have that race car. So I said, "I'm going to do that." And they go, "No, Mom, no, you're going to fall on your face." I go, I'll handle it. And ever since then, whenever I text Joseph, I'll try to remember to put a sloth at the end, because he, I know he'll come through at his own time, but then when he does, it's like that race car. So anyway.
Yeah, that was pretty classic.
Yeah, it was. But we've had some great experiences through the years of rubbing shoulders with some good ones, and you've been so supportive of me. And one of the things I want, before I let Joseph talk, is the Inspirational Art Association at the end of each, at the awards dinner, we give out 3 awards: the Patron of the Arts, Advocate of the Arts, and Inspirational Artist of the Year. And Joseph, because of our logo is a candlestick with a flame, these are sculptured, he designed these, and they're the light bearer. So they're very unique. And Joseph Brickey, not everybody can have a Joseph Brickey. But anyway, these are very, very, and I have one, even though that's not an award, but I made up my own award and put on the bottom of it. So, so anyway, Joseph, do you have anything to say about what I've said?
Well, I appreciate what you said. It's fun to remember all those times. I thought I might say something about that sculpture, the light bearer. And starting with the purpose of this organization. I think it's such a great thing to be a part of a community that cares about light, that cares about spreading the light into the world, the light of the gospel, the light of love, the light of beauty, the light of truth. All these things are part of why we do art as artists and what we hope for as artists, in terms of our impact on society. So I remember when this organization was founded, the Inspirational Artists Association, and it was the intent was to really offer an opportunity for artists to have a higher profile in the community, to exhibit artwork, and also allow artists to learn from each other and grow and sort of raise the bar of what we were doing as a community. There's a lot of camaraderie and a lot of community amongst artists. I think it's an amazing thing, the friendships and good feelings we have amongst each other. That's not always the case in the art world. It's a competitive place, and there can be a lot of territorialism and rivalries and that sort of thing that comes with a competitive environment. But it has always been a refreshing, a bit of a surprise, but just a refreshing element of our community, that we're so close knit, and there's a lot of generosity and a lot of, instead of territorialism and sort of protecting your own methods and secrets and market and all that stuff, there's a lot of goodwill and sharing, and it's an amazing synergistic element to our community that is so fitting to this organization, to truly be devoted to inspiring others and to give yourself as an artist to inspiring subjects, but also to seek to inspire other inspirational artists. So I've been very grateful to be a part of this community. My sister Mary, who just recently had a terrible motorcycle accident, lost the lower part of her right leg. She helped found this organization many years ago and was instrumental in getting it going. And it's been amazing to me to see how just how devoted and good this community has been to her. Initiating an art show, donating art pieces for the fundraiser, and just an overwhelming amount of support. And that is just indicative of just how close knit we are as a community. So I'm just grateful for my opportunities I've had to participate in this organization, and most especially for what the organization's done for so many artists in terms of providing platform and providing opportunity to grow.
Oh, amen to everything you said. It has been heartwarming to see Mary, even if she didn't have the history with the Inspiration Art Association, just her personality. She is just golden. And I remember last year after the art show, she texted me, "Hey, I'm down at Costco." I'm like, "What are you down at my Costco for?" And, she was here setting up for Young Sun Kim, and she goes, so I went down and hung out with her a little bit, but she's just sweet. I mean, she's just so, I can't say enough about her, but it's been seeing how many people have been donating and helping is just so touching because of her. And
I mean, it really has been touching. That's the thing that has caused her tears since the accident, not the leg. It was amazing to me to be present the day of the accident, that evening when she came to. She actually woke up 12 hours earlier than the doctors had expected her to, and in a lot of pain, didn't realize she had lost her leg at the moment. And when the nurse broke the news to her, I watched her face, and of course she was shocked, and just took in that devastating news with all the sort of sentient presence of she was lucid and aware, and you saw the reaction on her face as the nurse explained it. And by the time the nurse finished saying what had happened, her face just changed from shock to gratitude. And she said, "At least it wasn't my arm." Mm. And that, to me, as a fellow artist watching my dear sister take in that news and then come to that realization, well, I can still create. I can still do the thing I was born to do as an artist. I knew what was going through her mind. I knew that as an artist, almost everything else in life is somewhat expendable, except for those core things that you can't live without. And art is one of those things for her. So that was so touching for me to witness that reaction from her. But it also, I think, is just indicative of why we have this organization, because we all care so much about creating. And I agree with you that Mary is just, by her nature, a light. She lights up a room when she walks in. She's always had that gift and that sort of radiant personality. I was kind of always the quiet one in the class, and she was always the center of attention. So I've been used to that magnetic personality she's had her whole life. But I've just been so grateful to see how many people love her and how many people have reached out and who have donated and given. And it's just something I will never forget. And I know that she cherishes that so deeply. Again, I've just watched her she can hardly speak about it without coming to tears. And at the same time, she's going through excruciating pain. And though that pain and that loss of her leg is not what causes the tears, it's the gratitude for those around her.
Oh, such an example to me, just by hearing that, how she's not having a pity party for her loss, but for what she's getting. So that is so.
Some of us have wondered if, she was just so amped up on drugs and painkillers that as that wore off, she would be more and more devastated, and it would all sink in and that loss. But she has not wavered at all in that attitude about her leg. She's just so positive, and really the things that make her grateful have been the things that she's just clung to. So it's been really inspiring to watch.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. Very touching. Before I let you go, I want to talk about or remember something that you said when we were with President Nelson that's just been very touching to me, is as you were talking to President Nelson that day, we were having a one-on-one with him, how when your father was dying, that as he was leaving this life, did you read to him, or did you play the recording of President Nelson's talk?
Yeah, so I and my sister were watching over him. He died of cancer, and his last week alive, he was in end of life care, and there came one day, a Friday, that the nurses and everything were going to take away all of the support he had with the oxygen and with the medication and so forth. And just that was what was keeping him alive. And they were just going to take those things away and let nature take her course. He was cognizant and everything, but we knew that was going to be the last night that he was cognizant. So that was a very unforgettable time to watch my dear father sort of slip away in that sense. But what happened was he slipped away unconscious, but his vital signs were still strong, except for his oxygen. He had a really strong heart. Every doctor always said, you're not going to die of a heart attack. You have a super strong heart. And that ended up being the case. But because his oxygen levels were so low, as he sort of slipped unconscious, that evening we saw his oxygen levels. He was hooked to a monitor. They would just drop, and dropped so far that we knew that even if he recovered, he would have brain damage for so little oxygen for so long. So we watched over him, and it ended up being 3 days that his body was still holding on. The last night, this was Sunday night, my sister and I were watching over him. It was just in the early hours of the morning, probably 3 a.m. or something. And we were just watching over him, and his oxygen levels would just keep dropping. At this point, they're like in the 40s. So way low in terms of an ability to function physically. And so my sister started playing. Conference had just happened the weekend before, and so she played a song by the Tabernacle Choir that they had performed the week before, and we saw his oxygen levels start to rise up a little bit. And if you know my father, if you knew of my father, everything that he cared about was centered on the gospel, and he loved the music of the gospel. He loved conference, and that was one of the things that was hard. That was the only conference really that he ever missed, was that last conference. And this was about a year before President Nelson became the prophet. But my sister then played the recording of President Nelson's talk, and it was amazing. Her and I sat and listened to that talk play where he could hear it, and his oxygen levels had been around from 60 down to in the 40s for, for days, for these 2 days anyway. And then we started watching his oxygen levels creep higher and higher and higher. And it was unbelievable. I mean, it went up into the 90s, which is the level higher than the level that he was at, the weeks before he died, when he would take off his oxygen support. He would start to drop below the 90s. And here he was without any oxygen support, but just being monitored. And his oxygen levels rose up into the 90s as we listened to President Nelson's words. And it was an amazing, cherished moment to as just another witness of what my dad was all about and what he loved so much and what gave him life, that the words of the prophet were actually giving him life. And I thought it was so poetic that here President Nelson is a doctor, and he saves lives, and he gives life physically, a heart surgeon. And through the power, through a prophetic power across time and space, his words gave life and breathed the breath of life into my father's system in a way that was being monitored by an actual oxygen monitor on him. And so that was an amazing thing to see. Just I can't explain that on a physical level, but it was just a treasure to have that experience, and also to be able to share that experience with President Nelson, that his words had that effect on my father. My father, who had devoted his life to the gospel and to gospel study, and was a gospel teacher, and certainly was as faithful to the brethren and to the words of the prophets, and was always so knowledgeable on what had been said in the recent conference, always studied diligently. So this was his love, and to watch his body. And this was just a few hours later, 6 o'clock in the morning, that morning is when he passed. So that was my last experience with my dad, was with the words of President Nelson, and watching that effect it had on his body and his spirit.
Wow, what a treasured moment in memory, and oh, so touching. Thank you for sharing that, Joseph. And yeah. I'm so grateful that I get to be able to hear these things and keep those treasured in my heart. And thank you for being so supportive of me and taking my abuse. And,
it's always affectionate abuse, but it'll leave a mark here and there.
Yeah, yes. Can't leave this world without a few marks.
That's right.
But I do appreciate all the support, and you never hold me back. I mean, I come up with these silly ideas, and you're like, well, okay, you're just leave my name out of it, and you fall on your face, you're on your own, so that's support.
Well, Cindy, I've been so grateful, and this is a good opportunity to express this. I've been so grateful to watch how devoted you are to this role you play, and how much you give into this organization. It's amazing to me. And there's a combination of capability and insight and creativity that you bring to the table, plus this dedicated hard work and service and sort of inexhaustible price you're willing to put into this organization. So I've been just super grateful. You've made it easy on me, and you've blessed so many. You've made great things happen. You just make things happen. And so I just tag along. It's just awesome.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Really do. I just love being able to help others and see the results on the other side, and stay in the background, and that if I do follow my face, not too many people know who that was that just made a wrong decision. Thank you so much. But we're just a few weeks away from opening night, which will be great. We have Alex Boyer and Jenny Oaks Baker, and excited for that. And then the VIP private artist reception right afterwards, which is always fun and nice and shoulder to shoulder with everybody. But Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, December 1st through the 3rd is open to the public, 10 in the morning till 9 at night. And yeah, then we get to start the holidays out with a big bang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
It is.
It's become such a great tradition. So thank you, Cindy, for keeping this boat afloat and making it sail into wonderful places.
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Joseph. And it's hard to track you down, but I finally did. Did I make you feel guilty?
Well, yeah, every once in a while, but I'm getting hardened to your pricks. So,
but I have to keep my secret.
Yeah.
And Angela, your wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We both gain up on you. Yeah.
Yeah. You know the way into my vulnerabilities. So.
Yes. And just a side note, Angela, she's just, I love her to death. And the last few years, she's taken the responsibility to decorate our tables at the event and does a beautiful job. One less thing I have to worry about. And sometimes I'll just talk to her like, oh dear, this bill's come a little higher. Do you think anybody would notice if we didn't have meat this year? But like anything, that everything is going up. But
yeah,
sweetheart, I appreciate her. So, okay, Joseph, well, I will let you get to whatever if you have to teach another class, or you are off to do another temple, or wherever you're off to.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you, sir. And I will tell you what you are supposed to do from opening.
Okay. I'll be waiting for your orders.
Thanks.